Hi all, a very good morning. So we are going to the third and fourth chapter today. Few questions to be discussed, and please note that I'll be asking you questions and would want you also to participate and share your views during this session. Okay, so we are going to have only few questions. I will read out the question, then we will discuss the provisions. First I will ask you, then I will highlight those provisions, and then we'll conclude the question. Right? Let's start with the first question. Chanchal started providing beauty and grooming services and inaugurated Care and Care Beauty Center in Janakpuri, Delhi on 1st of April. She opted to pay composition tax under section 10(2)(a) in the said financial year. So Chanchal had started a beauty center in Delhi on the first date of the financial year, on the 1st of April. She opted to pay composition tax, right? Since it was a new business, turnover will be less, so she thought, let me go under composition scheme. The aggregate turnover of Care and Care Beauty Center for the quarter ended 30th June was 20 lakhs. So from 1st of April, she started her business till 30th June for the first quarter, her turnover reached to the limit of 20 lakhs. Further, for the half year ended 30th September, so from 1st April till 30th September, the turnover reached 50 lakhs. So in the first quarter, she did a business of 20 lakhs. In the second quarter, she did a business of 30 lakhs. Care and Care Beauty Center recorded a rapid growth and the turnover reached 70 lakhs by the end of October. So there was a big leap. In the next month of October, there was a 20 lakh of business in that 1 month itself. What the question asks us to do, determine the total tax liability of Care and Care Beauty Center by the end of October 2000. That's it, 22. Okay, so now the question asks us to compute the total tax liability of Chanchal by the end of October. So total tax liability, let's say by the end of October, how much she has in total, what is the tax liability? Now, before going to the answer, can anyone tell me what is composition scheme for goods as well as services? Can anyone tell me what is a composition scheme? A very simple question. What is composition scheme? Yes, Naina.
So it is a simplified tax for the small taxpayers. It is the objective of the composition scheme was to simplify the tax and to reduce the compliance which had on the small taxpayers.
Fantastic, Naina. Thank you so much. So really appreciate Naina for coming forward. Anyone else want to share in detail a little more about what is composition scheme for goods and what is this composition scheme for services? (10(1) and (10(2)(a). No one? What is the limit till when they can go into composition scheme? What are the restrictions they have or conditions they have? Even if you know 2-3 points, it's completely fine. It's not necessary that you have to highlight everything.
Sir, may I?
Yeah, Naina, please.
Sir, in 10(1), they say that the traders, manufacturers, and the restaurant services are required to pay the tax in the composition scheme at the rate 1%, 1%, and 5% respectively.
Fantastic. Okay.
And section 10(2)(a) provides the composition levy for services other than the restaurant services at the rate 6%, 3% CGST and 3% SGST or UTGST.
Fantastic. Okay. Now, let's say I have a turnover of, let's say I'm a service provider. So Naina said 50 lakhs turnover is the limit. So let's say example, in Tamil Nadu, I have a business. I have a premises. I carry on my business, one branch in Tamil Nadu, where my turnover is 40 lakhs. Service provider, let's say a beauty center, and another branch in, let's say, Karnataka. So I have 2 branches. In each branch, I'm doing a business of 40 lakhs. for my beauty center. Am I eligible for this composition scheme?
No, sir.
Okay. Why, Nana? Can you highlight the provision? Why you say it's not eligible?
So it is like we have to have an aggregate turnover of up to 50 lakh rupees on a pan India basis. So accordingly, the both is 80 lakhs. So it is not up to 50 lakhs.
Fantastic, Nana. See, we have other participants also, but only Nana is coming forward again and again. So I would request others also to please come forward and do revise and come for the session, so that it's a good revision. We discuss and then we go to the answer, right? So many might know the answer, but they are maybe hesitant to come forward. But please do come forward and participate. Discuss your answer. When you discuss, your provisions get more clarity. See, generally I always say, there's a basic difference between CAs and MBAs. CAs are always hesitant to talk, to deliberate, to share their views. We keep quiet generally, right, and do our work. But visibility is more important, right? So create your visibility. For that visibility, you will have to come and speak up, right? So try to come forward. You might know one provision, two provisions, 5 points, 10 points. It's okay, but at least come forward and share your views, right? Anyways, thanks, Nana, for highlighting various provisions about the composition scheme. So like Nana rightly said, composition scheme is basically for small taxpayers who don't want to do so much compliance under GST. So much compliance in the sense, GST says I can take input tax credit, and then I set off that and I pay the net tax liability to the government. So I have a tax liability, let's say on my sales, I will have 10 lakhs liability. I have input tax rate of 4 lakhs. I take that input tax, balance 6 lakhs I pay. Input tax rate is also not that easy. Why? Because I will have input tax rate under different heads like CGST, SGST, IGST. Liability is also under different heads. So I will have to set off in a defined manner, right? So those small businesses who don't want to have so much records, calculations, computations, etc., and they want to file themselves or have a comfortable filing, simple filing. In composition scheme, the advantages are they need not maintain detailed books of accounts. Why? Because they don't take any input tax credit. They are not eligible to take any input tax credit. They are not eligible to collect tax from the customers also. They kind of pay turnover tax. So let's say example, my turnover is, let's say example, 30 lakhs. Apart from the 20 lakhs turnover. So let's say example, I reach 40 lakhs turnover. So up to 20 lakhs, it is not taxable. So after 20 lakhs only, I get a number, registration number. So in balance 20 lakhs only, I will pay 6% GST over. Out of my own pocket. I cannot collect tax from the customers, nor I can take input tax rate. So the calculations and computations becomes very simple. On turnover, apply a percentage and pay to the government. Same applies for goods. Even for goods, in case of goods, the turnover limit is 1.5 crores. Up to 1.5 crores, I can pay tax under composition scheme. Like Nana rightly said, at the rate of 1% if I'm at, irrespective of whether I'm a trader or I'm a manufacturer. In either case, I can go under 1%, right? So composition scheme basically a simplified scheme, a very simple scheme where if, let's say example, a grocery store. So we don't expect a grocery store to maintain so much detailed records, ITC, output, collection, returns filing, right? So to make it simplified, this composition scheme is there basically for those businesses who are doing B2C supplies. So that is the logic. Please remember the logic, you will remember the provision. Please remember the logic, understand the provision, you will remember it till your exams, right? Don't mug up the provisions, understand and then read it. So this is what is composition scheme all about. And I said there are certain restrictions also like this. Now, so the first provision says that in composition scheme, I should check my previous year turnover. If my previous year turnover was below the threshold limit, I am eligible for composition scheme, right? So in this case, the business is started in the current year itself. So last year there is no turnover. So current year, since she is a service provider, we go to 10(2)(a) up to 50 lakhs. Up to 50 lakhs, she can enjoy this composition scheme. Once she crosses the 50 lakhs, she'll be out of this composition scheme. She will have to pay 18% tax. So up to 20 lakhs, first 20 lakhs, no tax, right? Then once she crosses 20 lakhs, she will have to take a GST registration number. So on 30th September, she crosses, she will apply GST number and she'll get the number. So on the 30 lakhs, the moment she crossed 20 lakhs, until 50 lakhs, she will pay tax at the rate of 6%. When she crosses 50 lakhs on 30th September, after that, for that 1 month of turnover, October month turnover, on that balance 20 lakhs, she will have to pay tax at the rate of 18%. Simple logic, right? Because the registration limit for services is 20 lakhs, for goods is 40 lakhs. She's into service business, so up to 20 lakhs, she is not required to get registration number. So up to 20 lakhs, no number. Then she takes a number. On 30 lakhs, she'll pay composition rate. Once her total turnover crosses 50 lakhs, she comes out of composition scheme and she'll have to pay tax at the rate of normal percentage, that is 18%. Clear, right? I've explained the provision in detail. Here, if you see, sometimes there might be some confusion that what happens to the first 20 lakhs. So I've already said that, see, first 20 lakhs, I'm not even required to register. So there's no question of paying tax, right? So I start my business on 1st April till 20 lakhs, no number itself. I'm not required even to take a GST number. Only if I cross 20 lakhs, I have to take a GST number and pay tax on the turnover going forward, not on the previous 20 lakhs turnover. Please be clear. First 20 lakhs, I will not pay any tax. Thereafter, I will pay tax, right? Let's see the answer also. Yeah. So if you say here, see here, first quarter, since the turnover did not exceed 20 lakhs, it was not required to obtain registration and hence no tax was required to be paid. So on 20 lakhs, there is nil liability. Second quarter, after 20 lakhs, she took a number. So on the balance 30 lakhs, since she was on a composition scheme, she will keep paying tax at the rate of composition scheme 6%. So on the 30 lakhs, she will pay 6%, which is 1,80,000 rupees, right? 1,80,000. For the month of October, for the balance 20 lakhs which she has done, now she comes out of composition scheme, she'll have to pay tax at the rate of normal percent, which is 18%. So on that 20 lakhs, 18% comes to 3.6 lakhs. So total tax liability comes to 5,40,000. Any doubts on this?
No, sir.
Now let me ask a question. In the first quarter, let's assume, I will change the question. Let's in the first quarter, someone advised Chanchal that you take registration GST number on 1st April itself, the day you start business. I will tell you practical difficulties. See, many times what happens when, in this case itself, when Chanchal starts this beauty center and she goes to the bank to open an account, many banks nowadays don't open a current account unless you have a GST number. I repeat, many banks don't open GST or bank account unless you have a GST number. So there are certain practical difficulties because of which businesses are forced to take a GST number on the day of starting business. So let's assume here Chanchal takes a GST number on 1st April itself, the day she starts business. So my question is, on this first 20 lakhs which she has done in the first quarter, since she is already registered, is she required to pay GST at the rate of composition scheme or not required? Still, can she claim that 20 lakhs benefit and not pay any tax?
She will be paying, sir, tax.
Why so?
Because she has voluntarily registered herself, so she will have to pay the tax.
Fantastic. Right, Nana? Very true. So this is called as voluntary registration. See, when a taxpayer voluntarily registers, many people get confused here. If I voluntarily register myself, then I will have to pay GST. I cannot enjoy the limit of 20 lakhs. I cannot enjoy the threshold of 20 lakhs. Because I voluntarily register, I will have to pay tax. So GST is payable from the day you register yourself. So if I register after my turnover crosses 2 lakhs, from that date I will have to pay tax. If I register after my turnover crosses 12 lakhs, from that date I will have to pay tax. The day you register, you're required to pay tax. So please don't get confused about 20 lakhs threshold. Before that, if I register voluntarily, then mandatorily I am required to pay tax. It is not a voluntary option. Registration is voluntary below 20 lakhs. But if you register voluntary, tax is compulsory, right? Compulsorily, you will have to pay tax on those transactions. See, and one more thing, when you get a question like this in the exam, please don't directly jump on the answer. Please write the provision first. So I've been taking classes for CA finals, so I've explained them in detail. So since here we're having the RTP, first time I'm taking for you, so I will highlight those importance again here. See, whenever you are approaching an answer to the question, whether it's direct tax, indirect tax, law, or other subjects, auditing, try to write the provision. So if there is any example specifically more in direct tax or indirect tax, when you are having a calculative question, right? Please don't jump to the answer immediately. First, write the provision, what the law says. See, many times the answer might be on fluke also, right? You might just guess the answer, you're right. But whether you know the provision, write the provision. See, if it's example, if it's a 5 marks or 8 mark question, the examiner expects you to write the provision as well. So please write provision, then analyze, and then give a conclusion, right? So first analyze the question. When you come to the answer, first write what the law says. What is the provision? So in composition scheme, write the provision, what the law says. That if my turnover is up to 50 lakhs, we'll have to pay 6%. After that, I come out of composition scheme, I will have to take aggregate turnover if aggregate is up to 50 lakhs, etc. etc. So first you write the provisions, then make an analysis and then conclude, right? So please be careful. Although you might know the answer, but you might miss out to score maximum marks. So always present your answer in a proper manner to get the maximum marks. We go to the next question. Right. So this question is more of connected to our first question. Explain in brief the conditions to be fulfilled by a registered person under GST law for availing the option to pay concessional tax at the rate of 3% under GST as per the provisions of section 10(2)(a). So some of the restrictions and conditions we have already discussed in the first question. Now, can anyone highlight what are the conditions to be fulfilled by a person if he is opting composition scheme? Can anyone highlight? Not all, but at least maximum conditions which a person has to fulfill if he wants to opt for composition scheme at the rate of 6%.
He cannot claim the input tax credit.
Once again, Nena, sorry to interrupt you. Anyone else wants to come forward, or again Nena will answer? Anyone else? Rakesh, Ramya. Yeah.
He should not be casual taxable person or a non-resident taxable person.
Fantastic, Ramya. Yeah.
And then he is not engaged in supply of goods or services which is not liable under this tax.
Fantastic.
Sorry, this
fantastic.
act.
Okay, great.
That's all, sir. I know.
Fantastic, Ramya. So great, Ramya. Thanks for coming forward. So as I said, even if you know a single point, no problem. Unmute and answer. Let's try to enjoy the session instead of only me talking. Let's all enjoy the session. Like Ramya, if anyone wants to come forward, because there are certain few more conditions. Ramya highlighted 2 of them. Anyone else wants to?
He should not make any interstate outward supply of goods.
Sorry, your name?
Neil.
Neil, yeah. Yeah, Neil, please.
No interstate outward supply of goods.
Fantastic, fantastic. Yeah. So we cannot make any interstate supply. Very good.
He should not
So
make
in the sense,
supply of
what
any
that point
notified
is all
goods.
about is you cannot sell anything outside the state. So if I am a composition person, I should sell within my state itself. See, because I'm a small taxable person, right? So within the state you do. If you want to do outside the state, supply outside the state, go and get registered as a normal vendor. Yeah, Neil.
Yeah, do not make supply of notified goods.
Fantastic. Notified goods like pan masala, etc. Right? We have aerated drinking water. manufacture of aerated drinking water. So we have 4 products where if you are dealing in those notified products, you are not eligible for composition scheme. Very good.
And
Anyone-
also do not make a supply through an e-commerce operator.
Fantastic. So you cannot supply through an e-commerce operator. Example, through Flipkart, I cannot supply. Or example, e-commerce operator who is having a portal like an aggregator like Flipkart or Amazon. So these are all e-commerce platforms, right? So anything I should not supply through e-commerce platform. Yes. Fantastic. So we have got many of the points. Now let's go and see one by one, right? Nice. Nice to see people coming forward. So the registered person desirous of availing this option to pay concessional tax at the rate of 6%, effective 6%. Why? 3% CGST, 3% SGST. Should not be engaged in making any supply which is not leviable to tax. Now, can I make a supply of, let's say, milk? Let's say example, if I'm making any supply, or let's say example, to twist the question, I will take an example of goods. So because conditions are majorly same for both. So let's say I am a small hospital. Okay, I'm running a very small hospital, a clinic, basically a clinic. And I have a medical store also, right? I have a medical store and a clinic. Okay. Healthcare service is exempt from GST, right? All agree, right? When we go and consult a doctor, let's say for COVID treatment or any fever, cold, cough, something, you go for a doctor will prescribe you a fee of 500,000, whatever. That is not liable to GST. It is exempt from GST, right? But the medical store, he has what medicines you go and buy in that store, they will charge you GST. Now, let's say my clinic name is Sumit Medicals and Stores. So I do consultancy also, and I have a small medical store where like people can come and buy medicine also. So my turnover is, let's say example, 80 lakhs of let's say my consultancy, which I do healthcare service I provide. And let's say 30 lakhs is sale of medicines, right? So up to 1.5 crores in goods, I can enjoy this composition scheme. Now my question is, my healthcare service is 80 lakhs. Medical store, my sale is 30 lakhs. So for the medical store, I wanted to pay tax under composition scheme. Can I opt for composition or I cannot opt? I repeat, for the medical store 30 lakhs turnover, I wanted to opt for composition scheme. Can I opt or I cannot opt? Because I'm doing an exempt supply also. That's my intention of the question. So only I gave an example. My question is basically, if I'm doing a taxable supply like medicine, along with that, if I'm doing some exempt supply, can I go into composition scheme or not? Or will I get hit by this first condition? Not engage in making any supply which is not liable to tax. Yes, Naina.
No, sir. The first condition will apply because it is exempted.
Yeah, so can he go under composition or cannot?
No, sir.
He cannot.
Maybe.
Okay. Okay. Anyone else? So Naina, share her view. Anyone else want to share? Ramya, Neil?
Sir, we
Yeah,
can go
Ramya.
for composition scheme, sir, because the up to 30 lakh medical services are exempted. Other than that, is come within the limit, so he can go for composition scheme.
So basically, you are saying if a person does exempt supply, still he can go under composition scheme,
Yes, sir.
right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So Ramya has said that even if a person does exempt supply, he can still opt for composition scheme. Anyone else? Yeah. So see, that is the purpose of asking and twisting this question. Why? Because many times students get confused when we talk about any supply which is not leviable to tax under this act. See, exempt supply. What is exempt supply? Which something which is taxable and exempted by notification. Okay. Section 2, subsection 47 defines what is exempt supply. It includes nil rate, it includes exempt supply, it includes non-taxable supply also. See, exempt supply, if I do, that will not come under this clause. Why? Because exempt supply is liable to tax, but it is exempt. And what this clause talks about is not liable to taxes, basically alcohol, petrol, those products. These are not liable to tax under this act, right? Please understand, alcohol, petrol are not liable to tax under this act. But if I'm doing an exempt transaction like a healthcare service which is exempt under this act, I am still eligible to opt for composition scheme. So please differentiate this point. It does not say which is exempt. It says only which is not leviable to tax under this act. That means petrol and liquor, those products. But if it says which is should not be engaged in making exempt supply, then all these will be included. But exempt is not included here. So if I do an exempt supply, example, I give an healthcare service, or let's say example, I sell milk or some exempt supply transaction, I do goods or service, I can still opt for composition scheme. But if I do something which is not liable to tax under this act, let's say example, I'm a restaurant and I sell liquor, then I cannot opt for composition scheme because I am providing supply of goods or service which is not leviable to tax under this act. Clear? Next. So we have to read carefully when I'm reading the provisions. We have to analyze, think, and understand. So only I said, please don't mug up. Understand and read, because if they twist the question, you will not be able to answer if you mug up your answers, provisions. Please understand, then read, right? Next, should not be engaged in making any interstate supply. So this we already discussed. I think Neil said this, that you cannot sell anything which is outside the state. So basic example, if I'm selling in Tamil Nadu, I should sell only within Tamil Nadu. I should supply anything only in Tamil Nadu. If I supply anything outside the state, I cannot offer composition scheme. I should not be a casual taxable person nor a non-resident taxable person. I should not be engaged in making any supply through e-commerce operator who is required to collect tax at source. So I should not supply anything through a e-commerce operator. If I supply through him, I'm not eligible under composition scheme. I should not be a manufacturer of notified goods. Again, Neil said this point that I should not be a manufacturer. Ramya said that I should not manufacture notified goods like ice cream, tobacco, pan masala, those manufacture of aerated water, right? So these products, a person cannot offer composition scheme. Further, I cannot collect any tax from the customer, nor I can claim any input tax. If I'm under composition scheme, nor I can charge tax to my customer, neither I can claim any input tax credit, and I should not issue any normal tax invoice. On all transactions, I should issue only a bill of supply as per the invoicing rules, section 31, right? When I do a transaction, I do a supply, I will issue only a bill of supply. Normal supplies, we generally issue tax invoice, but in case of exempt supplies or in the case of composition scheme, we issue a bill of supply only. He does not have the aggregate turnover in the preceding financial year exceeding 50 lakhs, because if under section 10(2)(a), previous year turnover should not exceed 50 lakhs aggregate turnover, and in case of goods, previous year turnover aggregate turnover should not exceed 1.5 crores. So these conditions are satisfied, I can opt composition scheme. Then we should not be eligible to composition scheme under section 10(1). Why? Because always first check eligibility of composition scheme under section 10(1). If not satisfied, then only you have to come to 10(2)(a). Right? Now, let me ask a question. Under 10(1), can I provide service or I cannot provide service? Please answer. Under section 10(1), if I'm dealing in goods or a manufacturer of goods, can I provide any service other than restaurant service? So I cannot provide. Or if I can provide, till what limit?
Yes, sir, we can provide the services, but it should be up to 10% of the aggregate turnover or 5 lakhs, whichever is higher.
So aggregate turnover preceding financial year or 5 lakhs? Yeah,
5 lakhs, whichever is higher.
Yeah, great, Nana. Thanks. So Nana rightly said, under section 10(1) also, other than restaurant, I can provide service, but up to a specified limit, which is 5 lakhs or 10% of my preceding year turnover, whichever is higher, I can provide. To that extent only I can provide. So if that exceeds, I'm not eligible under 10(1), right? I can come to 10(2) and check 10(2)(a) conditions are fulfilled or not, up to 50 lakhs. Now, very simple question. Holiday guest house situated at Shimla provides boarding and lodging services to tourists at economical cost. So it's a guest house in Shimla. The charges of a single deluxe room per day are rupees 999. Mr. X booked one deluxe room for 2 days during Christmas holidays. You're required to determine whether GST is payable by holiday guest house on the above booking. If yes, determine the amount of GST so payable. So they are saying, first answer whether GST is payable. And if you say yes, if your answer is affirmative, then say how much. Next question, will your answer change if the charges of a single deluxe room per day charged by the guest house are rupees 1000? So coming to the first question, whether GST is payable for 999, and if yes, how much? Anyone other than Nena? Other than Nena, anyone wants to answer? Okay, or Nena, you want to answer?
Actually, sir, I have not yet completed this, sir.
Okay, no problem, Nena. Right.
Yes, sir.
Anyone else? Right. So I will explain the provision. So if you see, when we go and stay in a lodge or a hotel, up to 1,000 rupees, GST is not payable. It is exempt. In earlier service tax law also, it was exempt. So when you go and stay in a lodge or go and stay in a hotel, they are saying that these are budget rooms, right? Up to 1,000 rupees. So people are unable to afford a higher category. So they're staying in a small room, a small category room. So let them not burden more by charging 18% GST or whatever rate of GST, right? So up to 1,000 rupees, these lodges, hotels are exempt. Per day, if the rent is up to 1,000 rupees. So 999, it is exempt. Since it is up to 1,000 rupees, it is exempt, right? Second part of the question, if you come, what if they are saying the deluxe room charges are 1,000 rupees, exact 1,000? So they're trying to twist your memory. Why? Because many times people remember that up to 1,000 is exempt. Some people remember below 1,000 is exempt. So when they talk about 1,000 rupees, we get confused. It was up to 1,000 or below 1,000. So it is up to 1,000 rupees. So even 1,000 or below 1,000, all are exempt. So the exemption is up to 1,000 rupees per day rent. In a lodge, if you're paying, it is exempt from GST. Let me twist the question. Let's say, example, I'm staying in a residential house and my rent is, let's say, 5 lakh rupees per month. I'm living in a luxurious royal residential palace. My monthly rent is 5 lakh rupees, whether taxable or exempt. Can anyone answer? Residential rent, monthly 5 lakhs, exempt or taxable? It is exempt because residential rent is also exempt in GST. Because see, in commercial rent, we can take input tax credit, there are certain provisions to be complied, etc. But in residential rent, they are not burdening the taxpayer. So residential rent is exempt, right? So in case of lodge, although it is commercial, but up to 1,000 rupees, it is exempt, right? So as we discussed, services by a hotel, in guest house, etc., having supply of a unit of accommodation below or equal to rupees 1,000 per day or equivalent have been exempted from GST. Thus, in view of the above mentioned provisions, GST is not payable by holiday guest house in the booking done by Mr. X, and the charges of a unit accommodation is less than 1,000. The next question also, since it does not exceed 1,000 rupees, it is still exempt from GST. Fruits and vegetables in Bathinda, Punjab, right? So we have a lot of farming, etc., right? In Punjab, we had a lot of protest strikes in Punjab by the farmers, right? So they're providing, Damodar Limited is providing storage, so basically warehousing services for seasonal fruits and vegetables in Bathinda. The monthly rental for the godown is 15,000 rupees. So they are saying examine whether GST is payable by Damodar Limited. So they're saying Damodar Limited is providing the services of storage of seasonal fruits. So whether GST is applicable on these warehousing services or not applicable. Can anyone wants to answer?
Sir, may I?
Yeah.
Sir, storage and warehousing on seasonal fruits and vegetables is exempted.
Fantastic.
So he won't be liable to pay a tax.
Fantastic, Nana. Right. So basically, see, sometimes even if you don't know the provision, you can apply logic and answer sometimes, not every time. So because see here, if you see, they are storing fruits and vegetables. Logically, if you think, fruits and vegetables is a very basic necessity, right? Everyone eats fruits and vegetables, right? So it's a very basic commodity in our country. So you cannot tax that commodity and make it more costly, right? So logically also, if you think, government should tax these products like milk, fruits, vegetables, basic agriculture commodities, right? So if you apply logic also, you get the answer that warehousing of these products are exempt from GST, right? See the answer: services by way of storage, warehousing of cereals, pulses, fruits, nuts, vegetables, spices, copra, sugarcane, jaggery, raw vegetables, fibers such as cotton, flax, jute, etc., unmatched tobacco, betel leaves, etc., etc., have been exempted from GST under an exemption notification on the GST, right? Because these are all basic commodities, government have exempted these products as well as their warehousing services. Thus, no GST is payable by Damodar Limited by of storage services.